Hey guys, so welcome to Comfy Cozy Up. So today I'm doing my February wrap up. In February was a good month. 9 books. 9 books, different genres, all black authors, and I loved. Most of them were 4-star. There was a 5-star, and there's one that was about a 3.5 for me. So let's start with that one first, and it was a Caribbean lit. It's a Jamaican author. It's called Yokona Doc, and it's by Desmond Hall. This was a YA that had a lot of heavy adult content in terms of a young boy who is following his dream, worked very hard to get this scholarship to study in the U.S. at a university. And in the midst of all of that, he has the, teenager. He wants to have a little bit fun, but also there's danger because of the area they live in, as well as family involvement in a posse, or what we call in America a gang. And how something terribly happened where he had to choose between his future and his heart in this case. And it was just a heartbreaking story because you saw bits and pieces of him changing, and how everything he works for is just going up in smoke. Now, the ending of the story is what you would typically expect from a YA, where it's that all is not lost, kind of trying to have some form of happy ending. And that's where the book lost me on how it was tied up at the end. It just felt unrealistic, and it took away from what was a really page turner, a real tragedy in a sense, but also had some kind of growing pain and guts that this young man had to experience. And that part of the story I enjoyed, but the ending I felt was a bit rushed in terms of it could have been handled a little different. It just felt so unrealistic, and that's where the book lost me. But other than that, this is a YA. I'm a grown-ass woman. So a person who this book is intended for would enjoy this, and I think would give it a higher rating than me being an adult and have adult questions and things that happen at the end where I'm like, what, how, what, that kind of deal, where I think a typical person that age wouldn't even be thinking about half the stuff that I'm thinking about, reading this. So keep that in mind about this book. Then I read the Blackathon book that was chosen for the group. That was nonfiction, contemporary. I forgot what else category was in that. And this one is called The Secret Lives of the Four Wives. This is by, also known as the Secret Lives of Baba Siji's Wives. So it has 2 titles. So I always say it both when I'm talking about this so people know it's the same book. Now this one could have easily went wrong, but it did not. This is an author that was able to take 4 women who have very tragic lives, who are surviving in many ways, who has turned their life around and chose a path that is not necessarily the right path for all 4 wives, but a path that somewhat saved them. And then you have a secret that you learn very early on, and this secret also enroot in the cultural situation where it's more of a woman issue versus a man issue kind of nonsense. But the way she wrote this, I laughed so hard. There's times where it was so sad when you hear each wife's story, background story, and also what they're willing to do and how selfish they were at times, of not wanting to return to the life before that. They were willing to do everything possible to keep the life that they currently have, and how everything blows up and the solution and how things were able to run. Now, when you think of the 4th wife, because the 4th wife is that really stirred the pot, you get to learn her purpose and her discovering herself and what she wants and what she's willing to no longer accept for herself. And it makes the story even more special in terms of that, because this is a polygamy marriage, and a lot of times in books with that kind of subject, it becomes so draining and disgusting at times where you're just not even going to enjoy it as much. But this I enjoyed, this I loved. It was a strong 4-star for me, and I do recommend you reading it. Then we get to the book that everybody's talking about, and yeah, all right now. This is The Secret Lives of Church Lady. Yeah, this was good. This is a short story collection that had a lot of stories that were page turner that surrounds the church. Not necessarily in the church, but a worshiper. Somebody that's a church person, family, scandal. Peach cobbler, my favorite out of this. The Christian one with the lady that was like Joel, instruction for married Christian husband. Now that one had me, I laughed so hard. I really was laughing so hard. There's just, when Eddie Levert's come, like, there's so many good short stories. This is a short story collection that was well thought of, that flows, that made sense. You don't read a story and wondering how did it get into this collection. They all got in the collection because they all belong in the collection, that kind of deal. If you're looking for a short story collection that's gonna have some interesting tale, gonna make you laugh, also make you think, creative, keep you engaged the entire time, get this. This is worth the hype. Definitely worth the hype. So yeah. Then, I had to do another, well, I was able to get a nonfiction in this, so I'm very happy about that. And that's my boo, James Baldwin. So this is Notes of a Native Son. And what I loved about this is I was able to think about it in terms of what we say, the 50s, pre-civil rights era, or like right about when it's about, civil rights was happening. And now, because there's several events that happened since that, it makes me wonder what would he think, because he talks about Hollywood in this. He talks about his family. He talks about his experience living abroad. And so you get all of this in certain ways where you get a broad, I guess you would say, his thought process in so many things that was happening. And a lot of it is very relatable to now, but in a way where it would have been an interesting discussion if he was still alive. When he talks about Harlem Ghetto, I think it's called Harlem Ghetto, and I talked about how certain things that was said, it made me wonder if how he would feel now, because there's several events that happened since. And he also talks about, experiencing his experience of racism, and how sometimes that rage, how it builds and how you have to control it, and all the things that surround that we all as black people in this country has experienced over the years, and you had to learn how to control it, or you let it eat you alive, that kind of deal. But there's so many things in this that I enjoyed. This is definitely a thought-provoking essays. This is definitely academic standard. I think this should be taught. And he really touch on things that you would just never expect to really think about in terms of our own identity. And which is one of the things that he talks about this, and how over the years, the centuries, when you think of it, our identity has changed or form or surround certain things that we don't consciously realize it does, that kind of deal. Love this. And then the First Lady in the Harlem Renaissance book series. And there is confusion. That is Jessie Redmond Fawcett. And this is another coming of age that surrounds three characters. You have a young woman very gifted in the entertainment section, where she can dance, she can sing, she can really draw in a crowd, and she's experienced the early 1900s when black people were not on Broadway and weren't given opportunity. Oftentimes, if they were often wearing a mask or something that wouldn't show their face. Then we have a young man who is somewhat haunted by his family heritage. For many decades, there were slave owners, and his family stayed even after emancipation happened, still stayed with that family, and there's that secret around it. There's that why, there is that drawn to that family for whatever reason. And he is ambitious. He wants to be a doctor, and he's also struggling with how that works. Being a black person, want to be a doctor, and you have to do your studies at a hospital or at some kind of medical institution that don't allow black people, and you have to deal with that. How badly do you want that? How much are you going to let that allow you from not following your dreams? And that is in this. Then you have a young girl who hasn't seen much but what her mother has shown her, or what she has to do to live a better life, to not struggle. And what she believes led her to doing some really bad things and make some really bad decisions that it somewhat entangle all three characters. And you see how she was that caterpillar that became this beautiful butterfly at the end. And I love her character because she was able to, the one that you saw the most growth in. And versus the other two that you saw growth, but you can tell they were always a good people that was going to be, was going to do good, was going to make it somewhat. And versus her, when it just felt like, where was she going because of all the bad decisions and things that she experienced, compared to the other two characters. This is really good. There's a lot of really good things in this. I did a review on this, so definitely check it out, where there's things that I read and all things that I explain more in this. But this is really good, a classic that I highly recommend, and she needs to be read more. She was the first. She came before Zora. She came before Nella. So read her. Plus, she helped the career of Langston Hughes. Give her shine, guys. So then we have the 5-star book that emotionally heavy. This book was The Yellow Wife. It's one of those books that you have to soak it in and look at the beauty of this story in terms of it's someone's story, because it is inspired by real events. There are several different things that the author used as inspiration for this story, and it is a very hard one to read, because you have a young woman who mother sacrificed everything so that on her 18th birthday she was promised freedom. And when that time came, she was not. She ended up at one of the most ruthless plantation, and was treated very poorly, had to do a lot of things that was unthinkable to survive, especially since she had a child in the midst of all of that. And just being a mother and having the love, she sacrificed so much. She helped other people. And there's this certain inspiration you get from her in the midst of all the raw and things that she was experiencing. And it's just a page turner for sure. There's moments that, I wanted to hurry up and get through it, because there's just some parts of it was just hard, really hard to read, because these are things that happen. These are not necessarily things that we know certain individuals, but there's certain storylines that we've heard through history of these things actually happening. So when you have a story that is put in this, and that situation happened, I can't even tell you what it is, because you just have to read that part. That part really took me out. If you read this, you know what I'm talking about. And it's hard to get over that stuff when you read in this, but this was well done. it's done in a way that she kept a story without just trying to make it overly harsh or overly there's time, you know, like brutal, where it doesn't make no sense for it to be that brutal. No, she did it in a way where you see it happening, you see why it's happening, and it just was, you know, it was she did good, guys. My first 5-star here. And again, I did a review on this, so if you want to get more of my thought process on this book, check out that review. But yeah, woof, heavy but good. So now we're gonna go back to where I wanted light stuff, because after that book I tried to read a real solid book, and then I kind of was like, you know what, I just want some romance. I want some books that's just gonna be yummy, sexy, yes, more. And so I went to what I know. So I read The Cast, which is from Daniel Allen. So this one is another Edgar Allan Poe poem that she took and used as inspiration. And this is more of an enemy to lover situation, and you have a woman now. She's a grandmother, and she's telling her grandchild this story of how she seeked revenge and fell in love with a man in the midst of all of that. It was very nice. It gives you that old feel, you know. She was a strong, you know, business owner, and this man decided that he was gonna put a similar business right across the street from her. So now that's gonna mess with her competition, her money, and she was gonna do whatever she had to do to not have that happen. But once she got to know him and got to know why that business was a decision that he made, you see the love and certain things that was happening. It was very sexy. Oh, she went there. It was very sexy. I loved it. I loved the characters. I loved the little drama. It wasn't that much drama. I think she kept drama very minimum in this. But there's a little bit of, you know, women, you know, all that. I ain't gonna say no more about that. And I enjoyed that part, and I think she did a good job. I have one more. She did 4 books that are inspired by an Edgar Allan Poe poem. So I have one that I haven't finished yet, and I want to do a full, like, just to analyze all of that, how she used a poem and all of that. So that's something I'm going to work on and hopefully share soon, because I need to finish the other book, and that will be the 4th book, and I will just give you a little something special. Poetry, romance, all that goodies, you know. So anyway, then I decided, I had this particular author in my Kindle for a while, and I just skipped over it and you know, just not even get into it. Then I keep seeing the person's name, which is Alexandra House, and I keep saying the name all the time recently, and I just was like, okay, let me read it to see what this is about. So I picked up the first book in a series where it's standalone, but each book is based on a brother, and technically it's 5 of them. And you have Everett, which is the oldest. You have Leland, which is the youngest, and then you have the twin brothers Nolan and Neil, and then we have the sister Kat. So apparently there's 5 books. I've read 2. I'm on the 3rd. That's how much this book series has sucked me in. I'm loving it. So the first book is called Let Me Love You, and guys, it was so good that I was just like, I think I flew through this book so quick. This is about this famous, well-known rapper. He has it all, money, all that fame, and basically, you know, he's kind of a playboy at the time, and how he met Joe. Gotta get the name right, that's how I wrote it down. So Joe was this single mother and starting a career that she's not sure about, and she was put on a mission to deliver this package to Everett. And how they encounter is interesting, but I knew early on it was going to be something about him. And how the story gets you, it's like the first chapter you sucked in already. Like, you're just like, ooh, I want to know how this is going to go because of how she wrote their encounter. Absolutely love it. I think it's just a page turner for sure. It's very sexy. it deals with they're both divorcee. They both have exes who don't know to let go, in terms of they don't really want them. They're not in love with them, but they don't want nobody else to have them, kind of deal. And so that all that back and forth between them is yeah. And they were tested quite a few times, especially Joe. I think she was, things she experienced was very harsh, and I felt for her. But I love that their love was strong enough to kind of like, get through it. So I was for it. Then the second book I've read from the series called Let Me Hold You. And this is an older woman, younger man kind of deal. So just imagine this mess. You have a basketball player. He is, very much, nice guy. And he just like older women. He always have just his preference. That's it. There's really no big story, but as you read, you're kind of wondering, why does he always dating some older woman? But in this case, the woman is not that much older. She just was a teen mom, and she is the mother of one of his former teammates that he doesn't get along with. So just imagine that mess. Their secret affair. They were just like on the low. They didn't want anybody to know that they were dating. It was just so romantic, so nice. I feel for her because she had a really tough life, and she's trapped in the middle of wanting to follow her heart, but then also her son. You can't. That's a bad decision to choose. But how it was done, I didn't expect certain things to happen at the end. The end kind of surprised me. In a little bit of secrets that were revealed, I was like, whoa. But at the same time, you can see how that happened, that kind of deal. Now, what I would say about Alexandra House, pineapple. Look, there's a pineapple thing in this that kind of hurt my feelings, because I just had to give up pineapple last year. I have been having like allergic reactions to pineapple, and I'm like, damn it! Not reading this book, like I felt like I was being tortured. I don't want to hear nothing about no pineapple. But yeah, there's a pineapple thing going on. If you've read the series so far, you know. Anyway, so I am now on the third book. I haven't finished it, so I can't talk about it that much. But just know that is on Nolan, the twin, and he is he's charming, but a little bit scared of, because he's gonna meet this match. I think the women in this. The thing about it is, these are alpha male, and the women in this are like what you would call, they seem a little bit more submissive, except for Joe. Because Joe was a bit tough in the beginning. Like, she wasn't having it in the beginning, but after a while, you kind of see her little soft side. And, but these men are all tall. They are like all 6-something, 6'6", 6'5", all kind of, they're up there, and, which is very attractive. But I like alpha males, so I'm reading this like, oh, yeah. I think that's what sucked me into. But I love it so far. Will continue. I am just gonna keep reading them until I'm done. I think it's 5 total. It's 4 regular and a novella. Novella, I think, is the sister. And so yeah, and I'm looking forward to the 4th book, because that is the most messed up brother of them, and to see how his storyline's gonna go. But Nolan just seemed like he's just, he gonna get that woman and keep passing. Plus the woman he's pursuing in this, love her. She's funny as hell. So yeah, but that's it, guys. I talked a lot about the last couple of books, but guys, romance. It was the way to end the month. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to March. If you haven't seen my TBR for March, highly recommend you check it out. It's going to be, a lot of different theme, some mystery, thriller, all that. And yeah, but thanks for watching, guys, and have a good day.